Before I get into this video, if I sound ill, that's because I am, and I do apologise for that, but I want to get this content made as I feel like I'm well enough to make it, so yeah. It's only been about a year since I moved from Corsair's K70 Mark II to my Keychron K2, and less than 12 months later, I moved back to Corsair. And there's a few reasons for this, which I'll go over in this video, but the main reason was I didn't like typing on the Keychron K2, it just felt too cramped for me, but yeah. But before I get into this video, what keyboard have you got at your gaming setup right now? Personally, I have the Corsair K70 OPX, so let me know what you have down in the comments below. This is Corsair's latest iteration of their K70 lineup, and it is their Corsair K70 OPX. And this one features quite a few upgrades over the previous generation, which we'll go into in this video. The main specs of this keyboard are Corsair's OPX optical mechanical switches, which are pretty good, I'm not going to lie, but more on them in a bit. It has full perky RGB, which is pretty standard of Corsair these days. It has an up to an 8 kHz polling rate, so that input lag should not be there at all, and it has double shot PVT keycaps which have a new finish on them compared to my older Corsair K70. It also features Corsair's standard brushed aluminium finish on it, which personally I like quite a lot, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, which is fair enough. But this time it's in silver, which I think looks pretty good. And it's also modernised in quite a few other ways with a much sleeker finish compared to the older counterpart. And it has a detachable USB now, which is the best thing in the world. This is so essential to me as I'm always moving my keyboard around. Thank you Corsair for implementing a detachable USB-C cable on this thing. The K70 OPX is Corsair's second keyboard which features their optical mechanical switches, and they do feel very similar to Cherry MXBs, which is great because that is a good gaming switch. Typing on this thing is an absolute dream. It's nice and spacious, so admittedly it does take up a bit more space on your desk, but this reduces the chance of having errors in your typing, like fat fingering different keys for example, which was a massive issue with my Keychron K2. On the other side of the coin is gaming, and gaming on this thing is absolutely beautiful. I love gaming on this thing. The only thing I don't like about it is the size of it, which can be a bit of an issue, but it's not that much of an issue. It did take some getting used to as well with the linear switches, because I'm used to the clicky and tactile nature of Gateron Blues, so it did take some getting used to, but within a week I was up to scratch and it was totally fine. As for the switch replacements, there aren't any because these are soldered into the PCB. These aren't hot swappable switches, so that might be a bit of a deal breaker for some people, but for me, I'm happy with the switch anyway, so I don't really mind that much, so yeah. From my experience, Corsair's build quality has always been relatively great. With this one there were a few issues, like some very small scratches on it, and it was brand new from the factory. I got this thing new, so I don't know what that's about, but I'm not that bothered by it, I guess. As I said, the Corsair K70 OPX retains its brushed aluminium finish, which does look quite good, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. I personally quite like it. And because of this aluminium plate, there is literally no depth flex on this thing. It's a very sturdy keyboard, and if you're paying this money for a keyboard, you'd expect very good quality, and you do receive pretty good quality with it as well. It has adjustable feet at the back as well, which are adjustable in 2 different stages, so you can adjust it to your typing position so you don't get like carpal tunnel and RSI and stuff like that. And speaking about the ergonomics, there is an updated wrist rest as well, which is updated with their newest sort of branding style sort of thing, and it's a good wrist rest, and it's magnetic now as well, so it's much better than the old clip-on rubbish one that they had before, so this one's actually pretty good. Like any Corsair product, IQ is the hub where you control the K70. You can adjust the lighting, polling rate, and even what the Windows lock key does. When it comes to lighting effects, IQ enables to spice it up in any way you'd like. You can choose from rainbow all the way to a static colour and everything in between. Personally, I just leave it on rainbow. I'm really not that bothered, if I'm honest. And with the Windows lock key as well, you can not only lock the Windows key, you can also lock at keybinds like Alt-Tab and Alt F4 if you're a known rage quitter and you're a bit impulsive with the Alt F4, which it's been known in the past for me, so yeah. A deal breaker with me these days is having a fixed cable in a keyboard. Gone are the days of having a fixed cable in your Corsair keyboard, because this one features a detachable USB-C cable, which is the best addition to this keyboard by any means, as I like to record a lot of B-roll here on my desk, as you've probably noticed if you've watched the channel before. So I can just quickly, easily pop out my keyboard and like that. So it's really convenient for me, and I like that Corsair have implemented that in the K70 OPX. So the K70 OPX is certainly packed full of features and some great build quality as well. But you'd expect this when you're paying £150 for a keyboard. I think 150 quid for a keyboard is pretty steep, and if I'm honest, it was kind of an impulsive buy, as I was just sitting there writing up a script on my Keychron K2 and I just kept making mistakes on it and it was really starting to annoy me, so I was like, let's move back to Corsair. I've never had a bad problem with them, so here we go. £150 for a keyboard can be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, and I understand. There are plenty of mechanical keyboards out there which are a lot cheaper than this and offer better value. Because in terms of a value standpoint, I don't think this is necessarily the best keyboard in the world, but you can certainly get a worse value than this. It's certainly not a bad keyboard for the price. So if you wanted to spend £150 on a keyboard, I'd say the Corsair K70 OPX is not a bad choice, as long as you don't care about swapping out the key switches at any point in the future, and you like big full-sized keyboards, which I know a lot of people do. You can't go wrong with this thing. It's great. I've had no issues with it so far, so yeah, you can't go wrong with this thing. So if you'd be happy dropping £150 on a keyboard which has great quality, pretty good features as well, and you don't care about hot swapping the switches or anything like that, I'd say you can't go wrong with this keyboard. So with that being said, I'm going to leave the video here. Like if you liked it, stay subscribed for more tech content, and I'll catch you in the next one.